Once upon a time, there was a kingdom like no other. A kingdom ruled by its own subjects, with no kings or queens, where the subjects were ably guided by the great warriors of the land, who protect them from every threat and enlighten them with precious knowledge that would help them become rulers of their own land. It was a kingdom that did not need a ruler. When the people of this kingdom wish to play, they make their own toys. When they wish to eat, they run their own kitchen and decide on their own menu. When they desire entertainment, they sing their own songs, celebrate their own art forms, and enact their own plays. How harmonious a kingdom would be if all the subjects worked together in unity to build it. Here is a kingdom where there is knowledge not only in its books but everywhere in the air. Here is a kingdom where responsibility is learned and shared. Here is a kingdom like no other.
Hello, everybody, and a very, very, very good evening to everybody who have joined us so far. It gives me great pleasure to kick off Tapas Project Shaala, the third annual conference, with none other than Ms. Lina Ashar. A very warm welcome, Ms. Lina.
Hi, Preeti. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm thrilled.
I have to tell you that Lina is a very, very warm person, and it's been an absolute pleasure interacting with her. To tell you a little bit more about her, Lina Ashar is the founder of Dreamtime Learning and is dedicated to revolutionizing education for children. The learning system focuses on fun and engaging learning experiences, creating thoughtful leaders for a conscious and connected future. Lina's innovative approach promotes experiential learning with the outcome of every child being the best version of themselves. And I think I've known her as the founder of Kangaroo Kids and Billabong High, and the kind of legacy that she has built with all of that. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome you, Lina, and I hope that you have a fun, engaging session with our viewers today. Over to you, Lina.
Thank you so much, Preeti. Hey everyone. So thank you so much for having me here. Preeti spoke about, or the video spoke about, kids being rulers of their own land. That's something that I really, really aspire towards. That kids create a conscious and connected future, not just a kingdom like no other, but a world like no other. We all know, that we've progressed as humanity, and we've got significant advancements in all aspects of our lives. But along with that, we also have wealth inequality, we also have environmental degradation, and we have social injustice. So one of the views of education, it should not, just like capitalism, it should not look at short-term gains, which means we look beyond exams, tests, so we need to change the cycle. We need to change why we're learning, how we're learning, and what we're learning. We need to change the focus from grades, marks, assessments, exams, steeped in competition, and we need to change it to a more collaborative approach, something that brings the world together, especially for our planet, a world that has a more collaborative way of being, a focus on creating, on producing, rather than consuming. And so one of the greatest paradoxes of life that I find is that, on average, existence has, our way of existence has got easier and better. I mean, we have microwaves, we have entertainment as much as we want. But what we do know is happiness has fallen, that over a period of time, there's a decline in happiness, and there's this conveyor belt life way of existence that we're putting kids on, and it's costing humanity majorly in terms of mental health and emotional well-being. So before Preeti told you I sold Kangaroo Kids and Billabong High to start Dreamtime Learning. And before I decided what I wanted as a new age learning system for kids, I went off to interview 100 thought leaders across the areas of neuroscience, behavioral science, and the future context of the world. This conversation with Seth Godin was recorded 4 years ago. This is way before ChatGPT came into existence. But he's a futurist who knew what was coming. And let's hear what he's saying. He knew that asking the questions were going to be more important than having the right answers.
The future is coming. It is unevenly distributed. So let's start with the fact that there has been an industrialized middle class in my country longer than there has been in India. And so many people who are looking for a better life for their kids are able to say, it would be better for my children.
If I can pause you for just a second.
Industrial system.
Yes.
We're not able to see anything.
Okay, so should I just skip the video?
Your presentation isn't visible, so if you can...
Oh, so I can... Oh, I don't know how to do that.
Switch screens?
Why don't we, Preeti, would you be comfortable in doing a Q&A style?
Yeah. Love that. Sure.
Yeah, so let's just go into a Q&A style format of Yeah, so I kind of said why I sold Kangaroo Kids in Billabong High, that we do need a more conscious and connected way of learning. So it'd be great, for you to ask me any sort of questions that you think parents would be asking or teachers online would be asking, and let's take it from there.
Absolutely. One of the things I've been really curious about, I think you were one of the pioneers in early years education in India. So when you started with Kangaroo Kids, I'd say about 20 plus years ago, what motivated you to start that? I mean, at that point of time, what was your vision?
So, when I came to India as a teacher, young teacher from Australia, and I sort of saw that what kids are going through, that we were actually robbing kids of their childhood in
Mhm.
India. We were taking them through drill, rote memorization, which is very stressful for the brain, and we were doing it at the cost of actually, we have all got windows of opportunity for learning certain things. Like, you have a visual pathway. If your visual pathways are not strong enough, you kind of cover one eye and strengthen the other, but it only happens within that window of opportunity that's open for the neural connectivity of the pathways to be laid down. And what we were doing with kids when I visited India is we were turning kids into parrots. It's like, who is the father of the nation? What is moving air wind called? What is moving air called? And when I started talking to parents, they said, yeah, we'll come to your school if you get our kids ready for the school entrance exam. And I suddenly realized that we need to do something here. We need to sort of show the way as to why that's really taking away we're not doing what's developmentally appropriate for kids, and we're actually robbing them of their childhood. The one of the things I saw in the video that you showed is giving kids choice, voice, agency, autonomy to sort of, even to kind of structure some of their learning, or to decide that we want to do this in an unstructured manner. But it was like everything was regimented. Now we're doing numeracy, now we're doing literacy, now we're doing this, now we're doing that. There was absolutely no time. And we still need to put some loosely held structure, because teachers in India still are not completely understanding of how do we interact with kids in this unstructured format that still brings in the scaffolding of the learning, of the literacy, of the numeracy, of the art, of the everything else. So we still kind of, with Kangaroo Kids, I was creating that loosely held structure for
Mhm.
teachers to understand, exactly why we're doing this activity, and what is the kind of scaffolding you will do with kids, which holds their hands in a way that doesn't ever have them feel, demotivated, demoralized. Because in those days, if a kid put their hand up and said, Miss, I know the answer, and the answer's wrong, the teacher would say, no, that's the wrong answer. And suddenly this kid's never raising his hand, not for a very long time, till he gets his confidence back. So the whole motivation was around, so can we create a benchmark for learning and education that's truly new age? But understand, new age 30 years ago is completely different to what is new age today. Because
Right.
new age then was when we were, we were just entering what was known as the knowledge economy. And
Right.
now we're actually in the attention economy, and things have changed altogether. We kind of know where ChatGPT is taking us. We know where, AI developed technology is taking us. We know that taxation will be done by TurboTax, and we'll have AI assistance for medicine, for everything else. So what are the new age kind of things we need to be doing with kids that's really going to move them forward, is where the focus is.
Unfortunately, 30 years hence, I don't know if the needle has moved much in terms of more memorization and rote learning, especially in the early years. And I think the new education policy and the NCF are a push in the right direction. What are your thoughts on the NCF and the path that it has laid out? Do you think that's achievable in a country like India?
So, for want of saying anything, we were already doing that in Kangaroo Kids. So we were actually invited to, Swati kind of invited Kangaroo Kids to be one of the collaborators on what it should all look like. And so we were already doing that. It's one thing. The only thing that I think is missing is actually the scaffolding. You know how we scaffold things for kids, saying, this is where we want to take you, which is somewhere down the line. This is where you are. And how do we take you step by step by step by step? because it's that optimal zone of proximal development. We're taking teachers way outside their comfort zone, and then rather than even know how to take the baby steps, a lot of them just kind of give up because when CBSE brought in the continuous comprehensive evaluation, for example, it's one thing to bring in a policy, and it's a second thing to actually say that these are the absolute tools and processes and steps to implement these.
Right. So when you mentioned about the pressure that the parents were asking you to prepare the children for entrance exams and things like that, but what's the alternative? What is a parent supposed to do? There are schools which in first grade are probably looking for certain skills to have developed by the time the student joins. So what's the alternative, you think?
So I think we're entering a really exciting time. You've got Stanford offering education online. You've got a lot of free education. So one of the things parents, I think, need to realize is we've got to start developing an internal locus of control for kids, which includes motivation, which includes self-leadership, which includes self-regulation. And we're actually going to have to teach kids more about their attention than anything else. So if I have to say that what is the number one superpower going ahead, it's focus, right? It's because it's really easy. We've got so many ways of distraction, coming at us today. And we've got so many ways to entertain ourselves today, whether it's Candy Crush or it's Netflix or whatever it is. So what is the one thing that's going to help us keep moving forward is consistently and constantly being focused. So those are some of the things I think. I understand parents have, change is very difficult for parents. It's difficult for the entire education community, but you have to be part of the brave new wave of parents who say that I understand that, rather than ask my child, have you done your homework when they come? It's more important to ask my child, what's something that really made you curious today? What's one area of your day that you felt in control of? What's one area of your day you didn't feel in control of? And when you didn't feel in control, what were some of the feelings that you had? What are some of the emotions that you had? And can I help you kind of self-regulate those things?
Right.
Let's be very clear about one thing. We're at the cusp of the most uncertain time moving forward. The digital technology age upon us, absolutely no one, including futurists like Ray Kurtz, will absolutely know what it's going to look like.
Yes.
So what we do know, and what anyone will tell you, any futurist, any neuroscientist, any behavioral scientist will tell you, is what's most important right now is to have kids feel internally motivated, to feel agency and control and command over what they're learning, and learn what they want to learn. So, bring in real choice-based learning in our schools, where kids feel, okay, I've got ownership of this. I'm responsible for this. Because you can't feel responsible for something somebody else has set up for you.
Right, right. And that's so important, right? And I think the word that you used is brave, that parents have to be brave enough to make that choice. We don't come from that background. All of us are not comfortable with alternative learning or learning which is supposed to be the way it is. So where do we find that? How do we even get there? I think parents need some kind of a roadmap.
So if parents start reading a little bit more about where very thriving companies are going, if you look at what Google's doing, what Apple is doing, what IBM are doing, they don't care about your grade 10, your grade 12 results. If you look at the way universities are going to change, they're going to be looking at, a more sort of a project-based approach to your entrance. It's not what grade have you got, what score have you got, but it's, when you walk in, it's, can I give you a project to do? And based on open AI, open Google, open book, you should have access to all the information in the world. Now what can you do with that to solve the problem that I have as your employer? Or if you are going to become a solopreneur or an entrepreneur or a social entrepreneur, the skill sets, the mindsets, the attitudes, the habits, those are way more important than any content you have in your head. Content is free today.
Absolutely. And I think this calls for a self plug-in. As a project-based learning school, I think that's exactly what we are hoping to build. So thank you for sharing that. So can you tell us a little bit about social emotional learning? That is something that I know you truly believe in, that it has to happen during the education time itself, that's during a student's life in a school. So can you tell us a little bit about social emotional learning?
So social emotional learning shouldn't be something that's a subject. In fact, it should be embedded in every aspect of what kids are doing. So if social emotional learning happens based on kids understanding that you can do a project-based learning. You're learning socially more through that than you are sitting in rows of desks in front of a teacher and listening to instruction. Emotional learning has to be embedded throughout. Literature, for example, if you're doing something like Harry Potter or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you're constantly asking kids, this is a list of values. What do you think are Charlie's or Harry's top 10 values? Right? And now kids will say whatever they say, and they say, now find evidence in the novel, in ways that they think or ways that they act or ways that they choose or make decisions that actually show you that those are their values. How does Harry feel at this time? He feels scared, he feels this, he feels this, he feels this. How could we help him reframe how he's feeling? I'm doing some ideation for a book called The Giver for grade 6 at Dreamtime Learning, and I don't know if you know the novel, but it's where everything is certain in this dystopian or utopian society as you see fit. There is no fear. There is, everything is certain. Your food is certain. Everything is certain. But there's so many things that the people of that society don't understand. And then when the protagonist comes to understand it, what is the changing set of emotions he feels, and how does he start wanting to brave uncertainty? Certainty, we all think, is what we want. And then when people say, no, we want uncertainty, you say, yeah, you only want uncertainty when it's like a surprise birthday party, or you don't know what's in this gift or in this package, right? But you don't want uncertainty as to, should I go and do this because I'm not sure whether I'm going to succeed at it or not. But you have to be able to deal with that type of uncertainty. And increasingly, as the world is getting uncertain, you have to do that. So having kids understand firstly how to label emotions, even. And some of the fun things parents can do if you're watching is to watch a program on TV with the sound off, and start looking at the faces of the people in and kind of say, how do you think this person is feeling right now? And
Right.
so kind of to go through that whole range of reading people's body language, reading people's faces, reading what could be happening based on the scenario without actually having the language to. So there's really fun things that parents can do at home with their kids to have, the component of social emotional learning. And as parents start asking questions more about how are you being rather than what are you doing, that itself starts giving kids the tools to have that kind of vocabulary and language.
Absolutely. And I think multiple times during our conversation, you pointed out about the kind of questions that parents ask their children. So just changing the verbiage from what to how, and how are you feeling, probably is going to assist in this
Yeah.
entire.
And if there's teachers watching this, very simple. Whenever you're asking a what, when, where question, see if you can shift that to a why. What if question, and immediately you've kind of elevated the learning that the children will have We ask too many, what happened, when did it happen, where did it happen? Very rarely do we ask, why did it happen? You know, um,
Right.
I'm just going to go back because I had a presentation. I had so many things I wanted to show. But another great thing to do is, whether it was like when Trump was in power, and we get kids to watch Fox and CNN at that point in time, and see how Fox and CNN actually explain the same thing that's going on, but how it's explaining it in completely with two different stories. So we've kind of lost Preeti, and
Okay.
oh, here she is. I
No
said, okay, I'm
problem.
going to ask questions and answer them myself.
You can ask. I'm here.
But today this is one of the things, right? The kid who understands technology is upstairs, and I'm still coming to terms because I've never used StreamYard before. I use Zoom, and it's actually being able to navigate when a glitch happens and how smoothly can you navigate it. And I was just thinking, I'm going to have to talk for 30 minutes now, solo. By myself. But it's actually getting kids to understand the multiple narratives that exist. So if you're a parent of a very young child and you're reading Cinderella, or you're reading all these fairy tales, ask what are the kind of stereotypes or the characteristics that constantly come through, for the female in the story. She's always vulnerable. She's always unsure. She always needs saving. She's always very unidimensional, so very innocent and very pure, and never has any bad thoughts. And so taking kids through all these kinds of things like stereotypes, and what kind of gender bias comes through it, and then with older kids doing kind of activities like I said, is putting yourself literally in somebody else's shoes, like whether you're a CNN reporter or a Fox reporter, actually seeing Trump from two different perspectives. It's remarkable the kind of things you can do.
Absolutely. And I think that's a lot of great tips to the parents. I also see that Dreamtime learning is all about conscious learning. It's about bringing in a higher consciousness. Can you tell us a little bit about why you felt that had to be a cornerstone for Dreamtime?
So I think some of the things we've done really incorrectly as parents and kids, and I'm parents and teachers, and I count myself there as well. So we're all learning all the time. Is one is our definition of success it's been pretty narrow, and it's been pretty linear. We're not looking at success as the person who's really kind. We're looking at success as fame, power, influence, and
Right.
a lot of financial abundance. And I'm not saying that those things are not part of success, but actually letting kids come to their own thought of what success is. So a lot of people ask me, why would I have Soul Kangaroo Kids and Billabong High? Why wouldn't I not just sit now and enjoy the wealth that I've created? But for me, if I don't move forward, if I'm not learning and growing, if I'm not putting myself in challenging situations, and needing to kind of challenge solve all the time, I'm not moving forward, right? So anything that's not moving kind of stagnates and is dying, and I don't want to be in that. We all know a lot of people who retire, and then what happens to them after they retire? They actually move backwards. They become frailer, not only mentally and emotionally, but even physically. So I think movement, mental, emotional growth movement is just part of the human condition. So when I say conscious learning, one is getting kids to be consciously creating their own version of what success means to them and having them think about it deeply. So when we go from an external validation of the self to an internal validation of the self, right? Like kids growing up, and teachers and parents knowing that they're enough, no matter what grade or score that they get, that they're enough just by virtue of being. When then we start understanding that they're very difficult concepts we can teach in very easy ways, right? So there's something called the paradox of choice that is a behavioral concept, and it basically says the more choice we have, the more unhappy we are. And to give you a very simple example of that, when we used to go to get a DVD from a store, We'd come back with 1 or 2 DVDs and we'd be really happy. We'd make our popcorn and we'd sit in front of the TV, and that would be like great. Oh, wow, what an evening. And now we've got Prime, we've got Netflix, we've got Disney Hotstar, we've got everything. And we're just flipping. We rarely say, okay, we're rarely staying with a movie for more than I think it's now 1 minute and 20 seconds before we say, okay, this movie's not for us, and we flip it.
Right.
And that's the paradox of choice, that the more choice the brain has, the unhappier it actually is, because you're always thinking about, have I missed out on something else? And there's a great TED talk about the paradox of choice, and he talks about it. When you just had jeans and you just had like blue jeans, dark blue and light blue jeans, and now you've got stonewashed jeans, and you've got this jeans, and you've got that jeans, and you've got them with buttons, and you've got them with zips, and you've got them, and the brain actually has a lot more trouble making a choice. So with younger kids, what we'll do is we'll kind of show them 2 wardrobes. In one wardrobe, we'll have just like 2 colors of t-shirts, and in another wardrobe, you have these hundreds of t-shirts with sequins all over them and everything all over them. And we say, would you be happier with these 100 t-shirts to choose from, or these 2 t-shirts? And kids will say the 100 t-shirts because that's what they're conditioned to, right?
More is better.
Yeah, that's and then we actually show them what happens to the brain. The brain's happier when it has to make less choice, and then it actually has more bandwidth to make more important choices through the day. And then for older kids, show them, as like Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs actually wear the same clothes every day. They have the same color t-shirt and the same color jeans, and so what they say is that we've got so many choices and decisions to make through the day that let's take away from these ones. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and so it's very simple things, but when somebody says to me that they don't have enough time because I'm a home giver, a caregiver, and this and this and this and this, I said, well, think about how many of your decisions and choices you could just streamline. So I have my parents staying with me. I have a 2 weeks menu for them for lunch and dinner, and nobody comes and asks me, okay, what do I make for dinner tonight, or what do I make for lunch tonight? It's already there, and I have to give it like 5 minutes of my attention every 2 weeks. But now it's not distracting me on a day-to-day basis. I can keep my focus on things that I truly need to stay focused on.
Great advice. And I think if you break it down, when we do talk to parents about giving choice to really young children, I think this is one mistake that we constantly make. We give too many choices. So it overwhelms the child at some point of time. And then it leads to then the parent believing that maybe choice is not so great, and just to get the child ready and out of the home in the morning in the rush hour. So this is great advice. Just give maybe 2 choices of what you want to wear, or 2 choices of what, and then limit the decisions the child is making. So that's great advice. Like I said, so you spoke a little bit about AI and technology and the kind of world that we are living in, and how we cannot escape from this kind of a future. And I also know that you spoke about Dreamtime being digital in the near future. How do you see the future of education changing because of the advent of AI? I know it's a question that's spoken quite a lot, but I think a lot of conversations have to unfold in this sphere.
So one is, basically any fear of AI we have to navigate, because, once we feared when print became a technology, we were scared that it would steal our kids of their memories. Now, I always believe as an educator or as a parent that I have to step into the world of my kids. I can't say this is my world and therefore I will build my education system or my parenting around the world that I am used to. And that's what a lot of parents are doing, that they're saying that. But what we do at the same time in this digital world is we talk to kids about the upsides and the downsides of the technology and how then they can use it for the upsides. So because I spoke about we putting kids on this conveyor belt of life, and as happiness indexes are going down across the world, even though actually our standard of living is going up,
Right.
average standard of living is going up. Kids go to distraction like we go to distraction. So adults can go to alcohol or other forms of distraction. what do kids have? They only have games or the technology as their form of distraction. So kids are moving to technology as a form of distraction because they're not able to cope with the stress and the anxiety that life's throwing at them. So if we
Right.
can bring all of that down in our education system, in our parenting, then and we teach kids what are the good uses of social media. Because today you've got a voice. Today, as anyone, you've got a voice, and you can turn that into a viral voice if you want to.
Right.
But at the same time, if you're consuming media constantly instead of creating and putting your media out there, then it's not going to serve you.
Right.
So if we actually teach kids what are the ways, and we do it, so we'll ask kids, like, for example, if the Salt March were to happen today, how would Gandhi use social media, and which platforms would he use, and what would his messages be? Now
Wow.
that gets them to absolutely know what the Salt March was, because they have to go back and understand what it was to create the social media post that they want today. But now it's got relevance, it's got relatability for kids.
Right.
So we know that the world is here and it is digital, and we get to use, we get to actually accelerate learning, because let's understand that reading about photosynthesis in a textbook, even maybe with one image, and then actually watching it as a video and doing an interactivity on photosynthesis where you actually can play with it and see what happens. One is a highly engaging and interactive way of learning. It's experiential and it sticks.
Right.
Right, and it's less stressful for the brain because it's visual and it's auditory and and it's got movement, it's got all the ways of engagement that we actually do with our senses in the real world. So
Absolutely.
we need as teachers and parents to use technology and multimedia where it's useful for kids to accelerate the learning, and then we free up the kids' time to actually engage in the learning and create because of what they've learned.
Yes. Uh, I think that's a great point that we need to imbibe technology ourselves because we are technology migrants and they're technology natives. And there is no running away from this. So maybe it's the fear in us that we need to eliminate. So you spoke about anxiety and how, as adults, we deal with anxiety, and children have maybe this mode for, reducing their anxiety. What do you believe is the role of, say, self-directed learning or experiential learning or something like what we follow, project-based learning, in ensuring that that social emotional learning is happening and that anxiety levels are lower?
So the minute I'm feel in control and I choose what I'm learning, my anxiety's gone down anyway, right? Because it's not something that's enforced. One of the greatest human needs is agency. We've seen that again and again. If I take away your choices from you, it's going to create a lot of anxiety in your brain.
Yes.
You want to be able to control the choices that you have. So project-based learning gives kids an absolute. Firstly, it keeps them intrinsically motivated because they're choosing and selecting something that they're deeply interested in. They have their burning question in front of them, right?
Yes.
And we're only driven by that. I mean, my burning question, and where consciousness learning comes from, is how was Hitler able to do what he was able to do, and can we do the same thing for good,
Yeah.
right? Because there is indoctrination, however you look at it in the world. We are being conditioned and we're being indoctrinated, but can we do that as a force for good? Can we show kids the way that that it can be good? So the minute you're doing project-based learning like you are, it brings in the central question from the child himself. And when that
Right.
central question comes from the child himself, then the way to get to the answer is coming from the child himself. And then you're motivated. That itself is bringing down anxiety. You know,
Absolutely.
I had in my presentation, and I'm happy to share with anybody who's got questions afterwards as to, what are some of the apps that kids can use to bring down anxiety. There's beautiful online stories that kids can use to understand emotions, to do their practice in breathing, to do their visualization exercises. So we need to use technology for that, for the social emotional sort of learning component. But yeah, If you're doing project-based learning at your school, there's nothing like it. And even if you're only, say, doing project-based learning one day of the week, or you're dedicating, maybe 3 weeks to project-based learning, that itself is better than nothing at all, because kids start understanding, if I have a burning question, I can get to the answer.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's testimony for what we are doing at Tapas. So thank you for that. So I think it would have been great to have seen your PPT now that you're saying so much about the apps and the books and all of
But
the
I'm
references.
happy to share, I've actually got strategies, the storybooks that parents can use for the books like Ruby Has a Worry, where she actually identifies her worry as a color. She gives it shape, she gives it size, and then she practices making it smaller. Simple things like one of the things I did for my nephew who was anxious, I made him draw 2 brains. And when he had a negative thought, he'd go and color one brain, and when he had a positive thought, he'd color the other. And every week, when the positive thinking brain was more colored, he'd call me up very excited and say, "Lina, must you see, I've had." So it's just by comparing, because we are prone to negative thoughts. That's our brain. Our brain, for want of survival, fixates on fear, and it fixates on negative thoughts, and then the world prays to that, right? The world of news prays to us being scared all the time, because it's constantly making everything way scarier than it really has to be, and it's pounding it at us at 24/7. But if we
Right.
show kids that to stay away from that, and how, when they have a negative thought, how can they reframe it, so that they don't feel stuck, that they have ways of moving forward. I think that's. So
Fabulous.
I'm
So
happy to share any
we
of the
will
resources with parents or teachers.
thank you for saying that. So what we will do is ask our viewers to put their email IDs in the comment section or write to us at the, at Tapas, and we will share your recommendations of apps and book lists with them. And so it will be great. We do have a few questions, Lina. So if you're okay, can we take
Yeah,
these
I'd love to.
questions? Okay, I am going to put the question up. How do we deal with slow learner pupils? This is Hanuman Singh who's asking this question. How do we deal with slow learners?
So, Hanuman, we have to first identify why the child is a slow learner. Is the child a slow learner? Is this child slower at writing? Is the a child slower at reading? And can we get to the diagnosis of why? And if we can get to the diagnosis of why, then we can help them. There's just very simple things, like most schools approach reading phonetically. And we know that purely phonics reading is slower reading for kids, and it's less comprehensive based reading for kids. So then we go to a more visual imprinting of the word approach. So if Hanuman, if you can kind of be more precise with your question, then I could possibly help more with what sort of solutions we can come up with. In terms of hastening anything, just gamify it. If okay, you got your room cleaned up in 10 minutes. Now I'm going to put the time for 9 minutes, and let's see if you can manage it. Now I'm going to put it for 8 minutes, and let's see if you can manage it. Whatever you can gamify for kids and you can make it fun to do, just becomes an automatic thing.
I agree. And at Tapas, you'll be happy to know we are using Dungeons and Dragons for introducing multiplication and division. So it's going fabulously well. So gamification, I can definitely put my name behind that. We have another question. This is from Raghuveer. When is the right age to introduce mobile phones to kids, and what is the best way to do it?
Raghuveer, I wish I had the answer to that. um, Well, mobile phones are here to stay, and I think the answer depends on if a child's using it for safety, and we've got locks on it. Otherwise, one of the biggest things in India is we don't have that much child protection around kids accessing data and apps and stuff like that online. The best way to do it, I guess, is just a little bit a day and to actually use a mobile phone for what it's required to do. If we think about the mobile phone, it's probably $200,000 worth of stuff in one phone. You've got the camera, you've got the recording, so say for example, if I were to use the mobile phone with a child who's a slow reader, and now I would get the child to record the reading and then get him to see if he can hasten his reading speed online using the recorder. Or say a child doesn't know how to spell a word, and I'm using the child who's an auditory learner to say separate, separate on the recorder, and therefore learn how to read it, how to kind of spell the word. I think a lot depends on. I actually don't, Raghuvi, to be honest, don't have the answer. I think we're still doing a lot of research in this area. I do know that we don't want kids to be on the mobile phone all the time. I guess just a gradual introduction. The only thing I would ask parents to be wary of is if you're on the mobile phone the whole day and you're constantly looking at the phone and then you're telling your kids you can't have the phone. Kids actually learn from what we do and not what we say. We've all heard that before, but it's actually so true. So I've got a lot of parents who say that, technology is bad. And then there's the same parent who's at the restaurant and the kids constantly on the mobile phone when it suits the parent. So I think that's really we have to be very mindful and careful of that we do what we're saying to kids to do. So all mealtime should be zero mobile phones for anyone and everyone. Then there are parts of the day when we're just socially, emotionally connecting. But yeah, I absolutely don't. I think nobody has the answer to that yet, Raghuvir. I think we're all still kind of navigating the territory.
I'd like to refer to something you said a little bit earlier, Lina, regarding this, not specifically an answer, but you said instead of just consuming it, they have to use it for a purpose. And I think that might be the right way to approach introducing any gadget to the child. So
yeah, I use a mobile phone from the morning to night, but I use it for meditating, for exercising, for breathing exercises, for listening to music, and for creating. So yeah, I guess a lot depends, Preeti, on how we use it, what we're using it for.
Absolutely. We're getting a lot of requests for recommendations of books and apps. So I will ask viewers to leave your email IDs and we will send you recommendations of books and apps. There is a specific question on are there any book recommendations for sibling love or something to help improve sibling relationship? Can you think of anything? Maybe
I
we
can't
can.
think of any book offhand. I know we have dealt with it in one of our lesson plans, showing siblings that get along and then siblings that don't get along. We all have plenty of examples of that. And actually, what happens in terms of how we feel. And I think if we take the focus away from competition a lot between siblings, we ourselves can improve their relationship. If we stop comparing them and they both know that they're loved exactly for who they are and they bring different value to the world. But I will come back to you with recommendations for this. I'll have to do some work.
We'll compile the list of what the questions are and we'll share that with you, Lina, and we'll be very obliged if you're able to share your recommendations about that. Like I said, quite a lot of requests for book references and app references. So I think this is something that parents struggle with and we will get
So
that.
I'll tell all you parents, the information is online. If you just type in your question to Google or ChatGPT, it'll give you a complete recommendations list. Even if you take, say, for example, the example I gave earlier, Ruby has a worry, and you say, give me 10 activities to do with my child at home. ChatGPT will give you the 10 activities to do with your kid at home. So
Right.
it's amazing how much we can use ChatGPT to personalize our parenting experience and our interactive experience with our kids.
Great. Thank you so much for that. There's one last question we'll take, which I have received on message. This is from an educator. This is how do we give kids choices in classroom setting, more choices with respect to PBL? So is there some tips that you can suggest, ways of giving children more choice in a PBL classroom?
So we have a micro school in Hyderabad, and I was actually discussing this with my principal there, because we do choice-based learning. And I said, choice-based learning, I think we need to understand that it occurs differently at different ages. So I think with the younger kids, you need to have more of an exploratory phase where because I don't know I enjoy something unless I've experienced it. So you give more of a range to the younger kids, and they're absolutely in the exploration phase. And then when they get a little bit older, you put them in the discovery phase, where you say, okay, we don't want to do all these things, but let's do one thing in the area of movement that keeps us healthy. Let's do something in the area of performing arts. Let's do something in the area of visual arts, and then we narrow down the choice. And then as kids get older, we go into the mastery phase, where they absolutely know what they're doing. And even if it's in project-based learning, I think in the beginning with very young kids, we need to say, okay, broadly, that in this conceptual framework, what is a big question that you have? But we've actually first exposed them to some of the conceptual frameworks within that, because they're too young to actually have a very big question and a very passionate question at that age.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that it differs with the age, and that's some indication. And definitely, like you said, we'll read up more about it. I'm afraid we are at the end of our given time. We're at the end of 45 minutes. And here you were wondering how you would talk for 30 minutes by yourself without a PPT. I think we did a pretty good job of that. So there are a lot of comments, and I would, Lina, ask if you can view the comments on our social media pages. We'll send you the links later, because these might require your responses after this. It
Absolutely.
has been a pleasure chatting with you, and we will pick your brains in future as well. Thank you so much for giving us the time, and we look forward to more and more such discussions.
Thank you, Preeti.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Viewers, it's fantastic that we started off the session with somebody as eloquent and as knowledgeable as Lina Ashar. We will be having the next presentation starting in just about 30 seconds. Please hold on to your seats, stay where you are, grab a drink of water, and we will be right back. Welcome back, viewers. We will be having Shreya, a learner at Tapas, who will be introducing our next guest. Shreya, are you ready? Hi, Shreya. Good evening.
Hey, good evening.
Please go ahead and introduce our next speaker.
Okay, Maria Lloyd is a high school English teacher in Madison, Wisconsin, with 16 years of experience. She has served as a teacher leader, leading teachers in both her department and in anti racist educational practices and policies. She has also worked on curriculum development, which has piloted a course fo- and has piloted a course focused on experiential learning. Her work in educational equity and innovative teaching and learning has helped Maria to see that the connection between these two fields is natural and necessary. Innovative instructional approaches such as experiential learning are key to addressing disparities in education. This ignited Maria's keen interest in studying new approaches to teaching and learning that can have a positive impact on most of the marginalized communities around the globe. She holds a bachelor's degree in English and a master's degree in social, historical, and philosophical foundations from Florida State University. Maria has just completed her Fulbright Fellowship in India, where she explored explored innovative teaching methods throughout the country, focusing specifically on how these approaches are undertaken and what effect they have on changing educational outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shreya. That was really sweet of you to read out the introduction of our next speaker. As Shreya mentioned, Maria visited lots of schools in India, and one of it we are proud to say was Tapas, where she did her research on experiential learning and project based learning in the Indian context. Okay, Shreya, then bye bye. We'll see Maria now.
Bye.
Hello. Participant to India. If you take a look at a screen right now, you'll notice a couple of pictures that primarily feature me, but in different walks of life. And so they all picture me along with my students, or me along with my own children, or just me by myself in museums. And I've done this because I have a deep love for museums and the kind of learning that happens in these spaces. As a teacher, I love visiting museums with my students, even if that means hopping on a bus for 5 hours to get there, as was the case in this picture here. As a parent, I love taking my own children to museums, and I myself love visiting museums. I think museums are unique spaces in that people get excited about the kind of learning that happens in them. And it isn't like a hidden agenda. They are very openly about teaching and learning, yet kids and adults alike enjoy visiting them. The kind of immersive and interactive learning that happens in museums is exactly what I seek to replicate in my own classroom. Museums spark curiosity in a way that I think should make everyone say, this is what schools should absolutely look like. So, I want to be very clear. I think that we should be moving toward more innovative educational models because I'm personally interested in this kind of learning, But we should also move toward it because, for one, it's research supported. You have probably seen some of these statistics or statistics that are very similar to statistics that I'm going to be showing. So I won't necessarily read them, but you can kind of take in some of the major points from these and remind yourself just how important innovative project-based learning, problem-based learning, experiential learning, how important it really is for our students and our learners. However, beyond this, I also have some other reasons why I think that we should be making the shift and moving toward this kind of learning. And before I kind of present that for myself, I think it's really important for you to reflect on that question personally. Why do you think educational shifts are necessary, especially shifts that take us toward more innovative instructional design? You're attending a conference, and this session in particular on best project-based learning practices, focuses on this kind of learning. So why do you think inquiry-based learning, experiential learning, the kind of learning that happens in museums, more hands-on learning, student-centered learning, why do you think that it matters? Maybe just kind of reflect on that, because that can be your grounding why for the day. So for me, I think about my own educational landscape in the state where I live. My home state in Wisconsin has the largest educational disparities between Black and white students in the United States. Okay. These deep disparities, unfortunately, lead educators to assume that Wisconsin's Black youth are not capable of success at school. And they make all sorts of assumptions, basically. And because of this, educators have practically given up on preparing Black youth in my state for school success, which, of course, leads to disparate outcomes. I would argue that this is not something that is just seen in my own state. Even the time that I spent in India, I found educational disparities were absolutely a part of the educational context there. Disparities, that didn't necessarily fall along race lines, but they may have fallen along economic lines, socioeconomic lines, religious lines, ability-based lines, but the disparities did exist. And when we're constantly trying to, patch this broken system, find ways to bring in those people who are, for whatever reason, falling through the cracks, sometimes we don't have the time to answer the questions that really matter. They're the questions that I have up here on the screen today. How can we shift our assumption about what learning looks like to provide more students the opportunity to show growth? How can we transform teaching in ways that engage more students? And how can our classrooms truly center all students? Again, the important questions that we should be asking ourselves, yet we seldom get a chance to actually ask these questions. Those are the very questions that led me to my own research in India this past fall and early winter. It led me to visit several schools throughout the country to really get an understanding for not only what is happening, but how are educators responding to this? And more importantly, how are they responding to it in innovative ways? So I was in search of schools that were moving in positive directions. That is to say, schools that were committed to centering students, schools that were engaging in experiential learning, project-based learning, and other innovative models. While there, I actually visited 7 schools and learning centers, and of those 7 schools, I spent extended time in 2 of them in order to really go deeper than what the eye might see on a single site visit. I was looking for answers, tips, and tricks, if you will, for successful implementation of new and innovative pedagogies. So while there, not only did I visit those 7 schools, I also carried out a range of different research methods. I spent, a lot of time doing focus groups, school leader interviews, teacher interviews, and observations. I carried out a range of these different research methods because I was trying to kind of have that aha moment. And spending so much time there really allowed me to have those moments. It allowed me to see the good work that was happening. And it allowed me to understand kind of what it takes to successfully make the kinds of shifts that I'm after, that we're all after. While I'll primarily focus on the good things that I saw and how we can be learning from those things, I also want to take a moment to just kind of talk about some of the challenges that I observed, because they might be challenges that you're observing in your own space. In fact, before I even talk about some of the challenges that I saw, I'd love to kind of give you a chance to reflect on the challenges that you see in your own space. So again, just think about what some of those are. You know, how you notice when you're trying to implement new and innovative pedagogies in your spaces. What are the barriers? What does that look like? So on my visits, I noticed two things that you may have actually thought about just now as you were reflecting. I noticed that there were oftentimes teachers who struggle to decenter themselves. And so, you know, what does that look like? They continue to act as a sage on the stage, for example. They were imparting knowledge on the learners instead of facilitating the learning process. This is a tough one because I occasionally saw it in an environment that was like ripe for rich student-centered project-based learning. At one site, for example, there was a unique technology in use that could help students understand music theory better. However, the teacher actually stayed in the front of the space, modeling not only how it was used, but also how it was breaking down musical theory. So the teacher was basically, you know, talking about the learning that the kids could have been having. And so the whole time I sat there, I thought, wow, I understand the importance of like showing them how to use this new piece of equipment, especially if it's something really expensive. But when you go so far as to then also talk about, you know, what's happening, you've just basically done the whole lesson for them. And so what a missed opportunity. The other thing I noticed was that stratifications still exist. So occasionally, of course, not in all of the spaces, but occasionally I saw it even in, you know, more student-centered models, even where project-based learning was happening in a robust way. Students might have been working together to solve a problem, for example, but then there was maybe a student or two who was just not a part of the work. And sometimes that's actually even more difficult to observe in, you know, environments where there's just high student engagement. If you take that picture, for example, you could easily miss, you know, the best of us instructors could easily miss the student who's kind of like maybe putting his head down or putting their head down on the desk while all the other students are really actively engaged in what's happening. So it's easy to miss that student. And so it definitely happens in this model. There, you know, of course, are a lot of students who are at the center of learning, but there are still students who are just kind of at the margin for whatever reason. Most often it's because, you know, not enough time was given. And so they then found themselves outside of the active learning zone. I think that my biggest takeaway from seeing things like this is that, you know, even in these kind of progressive models, this idea of the backbencher, which is a concept that I learned about during my time in India, it can still exist. The backbencher can still exist when there is not literally or physically a backbench in the classroom. So it's just something for us to think about as challenges to the kind of changes that we're after. However, moving away from the challenges, I'd like to talk about, you know, what it takes to find success in implementing new models. So first of all, I'll just say that it takes time. Okay, so to be clear, I'm actually not saying that we should take our time to do this. Like, oh, put it off for a couple of years. That's not at all what I'm saying. This is urgent work. Again, my why is the fact that students are literally failing. We are failing our students with the old system. We are failing our students by not rethinking about what education could be. And so that's not something that we can just sit on. This work is urgent work. So we've got to be committed to doing this fully. When I say take time, I mean that this whole thing takes time, and this in the sense that we've got to be committed to giving ourselves time to slow down in ways that we might be terribly uncomfortable with. When things are moving slowly as educators, we tend to ask ourselves, is anything happening? Is learning taking place? Am I just wasting everyone's time here? You might think about a little kid like doing something that you can easily do for yourself, like folding laundry, for example. Your child might fold like one shirt, and meanwhile you have folded 20 pieces. And sometimes you might think to yourself, gosh, this is a waste of time. However, in that process of the child folding the one shirt, they're learning so many important lessons: responsibility, symmetry, possibly, physics, if the whole thing like unfolds as they lift it up to show you what they've done. So there's power in allowing time for the process. One school that I visited, the Mahatma Gandhi International School in Ahmedabad, talked about how they really rolled back this concept of time, especially in their lower grades. So basically they decided it wasn't super important to dedicate a specific 50-minute block to each subject and progress throughout the day accordingly. They said, instead, it's better if we just give students large amounts of time in a single space to solve problems and to arrive at answers through experimentation. And they found that there was a lot of success in that. So again, when I say take time, I mean allow yourself the time to be slow. But I also say take time as an acronym that I've created for my framework for student-centered project-based learning spaces. So what do I mean by this? Time. The T stands for training, and of course I'll walk through all of these in just a little bit. The I stands for infrastructure changes. The M stands for medium of instruction. And then finally, the E stands for environment and culture. So again, I'll just give you a second to look at all of these. These are the things that we want to consider as we are trying to implement, maybe for the first time. Maybe we have been trying for a long time now to implement some new and progressive, educational practices. But for whatever reason, it's just not been sticking. We have not had a lot of success. And so wherever we might be in this work, this is an acronym that we should consider as we're trying to move forward. All right, so I'll move into the T, which stands for training. So for each of these, you'll notice that I kind of talk about this from a leadership standpoint and then also from an instructor standpoint, knowing that there are different folks in the space today, and some people might benefit from hearing like, what should I be doing as a leader? Whereas others might benefit from hearing what as an instructor, as a teacher, or whatever, you may be referred to in your own educational spaces. What should I be doing? So when I say training, especially from a leadership standpoint, I'm talking about the fact that districts and schools and departments must invest in robust and ongoing teacher training that interrogates pre-existing attitudes on education and guides teachers through this unlearning process. So this unlearning acknowledges that the majority of instructional staff in learning spaces today were not educated in innovative models, or what we would call innovative models today. So they really have to unlearn their ideas of teaching and learning. This is the exact reason why in some of those spaces teachers would revert back to the sage and the stage model, because it's something they're very familiar with, either because they have been using it for many years, or because it's how they were schooled, if you will, for many years. So again, this idea of unlearning is a very big one. For instructors and teachers, this could look like book studies, personal book studies that allow you to just really kind of interrogate your own ideas about teaching and about learning, because I want to make sure that I'm offering real practical advice throughout this. I'll just offer up this book here. It's a book that I've personally found very helpful in my own learning process. It's Goldie Muhammad's Cultivating Genius. So just a book that has allowed me to rethink what teaching should be, what learning looks like. And I encourage all teachers to read this or any other books that allow us to have those moments where we're just kind of able to do some unlearning. And then another thing we can do, another really powerful thing for unlearning, and one school that I visited was incredibly effective at doing this. It's like setting up accountability systems, but with our own peers. So, teachers holding other teachers accountable. So what this might look like is, you find a teacher or a peer teacher who you're comfortable inviting into your space for just a low stakes observation of your instructional moves. And then you just follow that up with a conversation about the observation and the areas of growth. And this could be super informal, just a quick chat over tea, talking about these are some of the things that I noticed. I know that you really want to work on X, Y, and Z, and I didn't quite see that today, right? Just having several low stakes observations done by peers so that you all can constantly be learning from each other and unlearning, with each other. So that kind of ties up training. I'll next move into the I. As a reminder, the I stands for infrastructure changes. So for infrastructure changes, I'm talking everything from schedule changes to classroom furniture changes to changing where school happens. Making a major shift requires changes that are so drastic that it's actually difficult to revert back to old models. I picked that up quite obviously in a space that I visited in Bhopal. It's hard to even call it a space because of the unique approach that they took. But basically, this was a school that was not happening in a traditional school by any stretch of the imagination. It was happening in several museums across the city. And so because there was literally no classroom space, there were no, books in desks to return to, they found it very easy to adapt and then hold on to, some of these shifts and some of these new ways of thinking about teaching and learning. So basically, when I say instructional changes from a leadership standpoint, I'm talking about the schedules. As I mentioned in the Mahatma Gandhi School, leadership a lot of times has the authority to say, hey, let's try out new schedules. And sometimes those schedules might just create the time that is necessary for teachers and students to kind of slow down the learning process. And that doesn't have to necessarily mean the day-to-day schedule, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that, okay, you've got to shift from doing 45-minute blocks to now having 3-hour blocks or whatever. No, it could mean, what, as a school, we've decided that every Friday we're going to do something a little bit different. These are the kind of schedule changes that might be necessary if they support the kind of movement that you're trying to make instructionally. And then also just changing up instructional spaces. I mentioned that school in Bhopal, the museum school. However, that's not necessarily practical for everyone to just say, we're moving out of our school and we're now taking over the city's museums. But it does mean as leaders, you might think about, do my teachers have to be in the spaces all the time? Can I encourage them to move into different spaces that might facilitate more experiential learning? And you know what? Sometimes teachers need a bit of a mandate. Sometimes it takes leadership to say, every week you've got to get out of the classroom once. If that means going out to the courtyard, if that, I know obviously having lived in India for 4 months, I know sometimes pollution's an issue. So maybe it's not going outside. Maybe it means, once a week, you got to take your students into the hallway, because the kind of, group work that can happen in the hallway, the kind of discussions that can happen in the hallway are so much better than the kind of discussions that can happen inside of a classroom space. So again, just encouraging your teachers to do that. From a teacher standpoint, some similar ideas, but also if you are confined to the classroom, I encourage you to think about classroom design. There is a significant amount of power in the way that, our desks are laid out, for example. My students like to say when they come into a class on any given day, they kind of know what's going to happen just based on what the desks look like. So are we in, a full circle? Are the desks in use? Are there desks at all? Or have I told students to come in and just take a stand wherever, are there mats on the ground? Are we doing some sort of meditation, right? So we've got the power a lot of times to change up the way our classroom looks on any given day. And again, this doesn't necessarily mean going out and buying new classroom furniture. It might just mean turning the desks to make it a little bit more conducive for students to chat or whatever the case may be. And then also, this goes back to what I was saying for leadership to encourage teachers to do, but class outside of class. Why do you have to have that group discussion inside? Why can't you take it into the hallway like I mentioned before? One of the most impactful field trips that I took my students on was a literal walk outside of our classroom and down the block right in front of our school. It didn't take a lot of pre-planning. I didn't have to get parent permission slips for anything like that. But we just walked down the block because we really needed to take in some of the things that we were seeing and how they applied to, a piece of literature that we were studying. But it was, again, just something quick and easy that I can do. And it allowed the students to really, to kind of take control of the learning because they got to make the observations. And oftentimes getting outside of a classroom space, allows students to realize like, oh, this is a space that I frequent every day. So can I be the one to be in charge in this space since I'm typically here? Sometimes in an actual classroom setting, they think, oh, only the teacher can be in charge. So there's incredible power in just getting outside, even if it's just temporary. So moving on from the I, I'll move into M, which is medium of instruction. So for medium of instruction, I just want to talk about how this shift requires a dependence on new and emerging mediums, okay? To be very clear, I'm an English teacher. I would never say that, moving to project-based learning or experiential learning renders books obsolete. We no longer need books, throw them away. I would never say that. But instead, it places value on the literacies that can be cultivated through mediums like films, reels, museum exhibits, and video games. And it recognizes these as valuable tools for sharing knowledge and deepening learning. So what can leadership do? Well, leadership can model this. As a leader, what does your professional development look like? How are you presenting information to your staff? Are you sending out a weekly email filled with words for them to read through? Are you, printing up a paper every week for them to look at? Or are you kind of, testing out your influencer capabilities and creating like little reels about, what needs to happen for the week, right? These are all things that when you model them as a leader, your staff is picking up on them and thinking about how they can then use this in their own classroom. And then again, for teachers, I mentioned some of these things, and I do want to say this is not an exhaustive list. However, these are very impactful ways to get information to students, and ways that kind of decenter us. Maybe you ask your students to find the reels that can speak to whatever concept student you're trying to talk about in your classroom. you know, as far as museums go, I think I said enough about how powerful those can be as learning tools. But also think about how you're using museums. Are you just going to, you know, the science museum down the street because it's a science museum, you're a science teacher, and so that feels like it works? No, I mean, museum visits should be intentional. And so instead, are you maybe going to the museum in order to introduce a new concept that you're going to be talking about in class? And so you're giving students a chance to go there and to explore, okay, I see how this is working. I see how this is moving. So what is this telling me, right? And then giving them a chance to come back to the classroom and kind of be the teachers that talk through whatever they learned, even if they didn't learn it fully, but whatever they may have picked up on in the, you know, during their museum visit. And then, of course, films can be incredibly powerful as well, just for conveying ideas and helping students to really kind of understand what something means. And again, I just want to reiterate that this is not an exhaustive list. There are many other ways that we can kind of rely on new and emerging mediums to really have that kind of project-based learning that we see. And finally, I will get into the E of the T.I.M.E acronym. So the E stands for environment and culture. And I think this is probably one of the things that throughout my research in India, I understood was incredibly valuable. And that's not to say that I disregarded it before, but being there, I really started to have an appreciation for the importance of environment and culture in ways that I maybe took for granted before this. So the big thing about project-based learning is it is student-centered. And if students are at the center of the learning process, that doesn't always mean that they carry the knowledge that we as educators and we as instructors might have. Sometimes it means that they have no knowledge and that they are literally doing the learning, right? And because that's the case, with learning comes failing. And so sometimes they, you know, they don't necessarily know the answers. They don't understand how to arrive at it. They arrive at the wrong answer, but that has to be okay. In order for that to be okay, though, students have to view school in their peers very differently. Students, just like I said before, that teachers can't have fixed ideas about what learning looks like. Students can't have fixed ideas about what, you know, smart, like what a smart kid looks like, what is intelligent. They have to have, you know, new ideas about all of these things as well. Especially if they have traditionally like judged students based on what they think learning and what they think intelligence looks like. We as educators must disrupt this thinking. So teachers have to spend time creating a class environment and culture that truly supports a student-centered model. From a leadership standpoint and a teacher standpoint, this looks very similar. From a leadership standpoint, leaders must create school communities that support failing, that support growing, that support multiple intelligences. And again, teachers must do the same thing. So I'll kind of talk about those ideas together. What do I mean by that? You know, I hate to say it, but this was one of the areas of growth that I noted a lot throughout my travels in India. In many of the schools that I went to, I noticed that there was a deeply entrenched culture around competition. I noticed it in the schools that my own daughters attended while we were there in India. I noticed in other schools that I went to as well. And so by that, I mean, you know, everything is kind of turned into a competition. Who's going to be the best person to do this? Who's going to do this the best way? Who's going to do this the fastest, right? And sometimes, while that can be incredibly effective, of course, you know, competition, a spirit of competition is not a bad thing always, but sometimes that can isolate students. It can make them feel like if they can't do it quickly enough, if they can't do it, you know, the best, then they then they're no good. They're useless, and their contributions are not meaningful. And so sometimes we really have to go in and kind of disrupt that culture and that environment. Again, I know that's definitely more difficult to accomplish, but it is very important if we want students to feel like this is a space where I can learn at whatever pace I need to. This is a space that I can fail, and that failing is okay because failing is a part of learning. As again, I said that, you know, a lot of this transfers from both the leadership standpoint and the teacher standpoint, but I will just say this specifically as a teacher, sometimes this means like celebrating fails, you know, celebrating times when we're failing in our class so that students understand and value that as a real part of the learning process. I thought about this, I have not yet implemented it, but I thought about this when I was in India. I thought about something called Failing Friday or Failure Friday. I've not quite come up with a name just yet, but I think what it is it's a moment for my students on Fridays to kind of just shout out a way that they failed that week, but then to, of course, follow up with what they learned in that, you know, in that process of failing, because of course, again, in failing, there is learning. And so maybe if I normalize that as a thing that we celebrate, students can then embrace that, and they can support each other in the times that they fail and in the times that they succeed. I will say that in order to create this environment and culture where, you know, kids are okay with failing, where we honor and value multiple intelligences, you have to ensure that students, that they actually like each other, that they genuinely care for one another. And so finding ways to center that in your classroom is incredibly important. It might just be through community building that doesn't just happen at the beginning of the school year, but that happens with intentionality every single day, no matter how much time it takes, right? Because this whole thing takes time. So if that means that 10 minutes every single day and then more minutes if a day requires more, you need to play a game as a class, or you need to, you know, go outside and draw like a mural together, then do that, because that is the kind of thing that builds the environment and culture that allows for this shift, that allows for student-based learning. Student-centered learning, project-based learning, right? So you've got to take that time to build those kinds of communities and those kinds of spaces. I noticed in one school that I was at, it was a public school in Delhi, in the Dwarka region of Delhi. I noticed that there was a teacher who, again, took that time every single day to just have like open conversations with students. There was nothing on the agenda. They would just kind of like talk. You know, students could ask questions. They could talk about what was going on in their lives. And students really enjoyed that. It almost seemed like they were more apt to get into whatever the learning was for the day because they had that time. Another school that I visited and observed for an extended amount of time, it was actually a private school, a private Christian school, also in Delhi. I noticed that the teacher had like a box of questions that students could just continue to add to, and they would talk about them. One of the first questions that came up on a day that I was there, I was actually thinking to myself, like, whoa, this is a pretty risque question. You know, are they actually going to discuss this? It was an 8th grade class, but they discussed it. And that showed me, you know what, this has been normalized in class. Students recognize that it's okay to ask the questions that they're truly seeking answers to. And I thought that as a, you know, as a really beautiful thing, because again, I understood that it was contributing to an environment and a culture that was ripe for the kind of change that, you know, our classrooms and our spaces are really in need of. So just to recap, I'd like to go back through this acronym really quickly to just make sure that we're all understanding what it is. So again, student-centered, project-based learning, problem-based learning, experiential learning, any kind of innovative shifts that we are trying to make in our spaces, they require us to take time in the literal sense and slowing down and in the sense that we need to value and prioritize training for our teachers and for our entire school communities. We need to consider infrastructure changes that might facilitate this type of learning. We need to think about the medium of instruction and be willing to change up the medium of instruction. And then finally, we need to focus on the environment and culture. How are we creating the kinds of spaces where students feel like they can try, that they can speak even if they don't know the answers, that they can be slow and figure things out without having to rush to an answer, that they are not being compared to, and constantly pit up against their peers. So these are the things that we need to consider. It is my hope that as you go back to your own spaces, you are able to take this acronym with you and that you are able to see real change happen as a result of implementing these things: training, infrastructure changes, medium of instruction, and environment and culture. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate the fact that you stuck with me today as we talked about ways to implement project-based learning in your spaces. I look forward to communicating with you via email if you'd like to. Thank you.
Well, that was Maria Loyd for all of you. Thank you so much, Maria. I think that was a fantastic introduction to what you have gone through during your visit in India, and lots of takeaways for us as educators and some takeaways for parents as well. Next up, our next speaker is ready. And before I move to the next speaker, I'd like to invite Devik onto the stage for giving us an introduction to our next speaker. Devik is a Tapas learner. Hi, Devik.
Hello.
Please introduce our next speaker.
So next person is called Mr. Swaminathan, and he joined in NIOS on 1991, worked in various departments like finance, student support, service, and valuation departments, and spent 32 years in Delhi headquarters, promoted as Assistant Director on May 2nd, 2022, and posted in Regional Centre Chandigarh for 8 months and further transferred to Bangalore on 6 December 2022, and holding charge as Regional Director from February 22nd, 2023 onwards. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Devik. We will be meeting Swaminathan sir just shortly as I upload his presentation. Give us a couple of minutes. While we wait for the presentation, please take a look at a little bit about Tapas.
Once upon a time, there was a kingdom like no other. A kingdom ruled by its own subjects, with no kings or queens, where the subjects were ably guided by the great warriors of the land, who protect them from every threat and enlighten them with precious knowledge that would help them become rulers of their own land. It was a kingdom that did not need a ruler. When the people of this kingdom wish to play, they make their own toys. When they wish to eat, they run their own kitchen and decide on their own menu. When they desire entertainment, they sing their own songs, celebrate their own art forms, and enact their own plays. How harmonious a kingdom would be if all the subjects worked together in unity to build it. Here is a kingdom where there is knowledge not only in its books but everywhere in the air. Here is a kingdom where responsibility is learned and shared. Here is a kingdom like no other.
Welcome back, everyone. I would like to ask Mr. Swaminathan to please present next. We felt that it's important for all of us to learn a little bit about NIOS, which is the National Institute of Open Schooling, which is one of the leading boards in India. So, Swaminathan, sir, a very warm welcome. And
Good evening.
good evening, sir. Over to you, sir. I will be putting up your presentation for everybody to see. Please let me know when you would like to move the slides.
Yeah. Okay. Largest open schooling system in the world. Okay, we can just go ahead with the presentation right now, and then after that I will speak. Shall I start with my presentation? Yeah.
Yes, sir, please.
Good evening to all of you. I am V. Swaminathan, joined as a regional director in RC, Regional Center Bangalore. We are having nearly about, say, 22 regional centers throughout the pan-India basis is concerned. But Karnataka is also, it is started in the year 2011. The National Institute of Open Schooling is one of the two National Board of School of Education. The courses of NIOS are the same standard and equivalence as a course of study of other national public state level board of examination. The quality of rigor assessment process of NIOS examination is identical. If more, it's not more difficult compared to other board. NIOS has simply implemented the various stages to support the learners to pursue the successful learning. Throughout the course, learners will undergo the internal assessment that we can call it as a tutor marks assessment. The assignments are a tool for the learners to gauge their progress, measure their achievement, and cultivate the consistent study habit. Our main name of the National Institute of Open Schooling is reached to unreached. The learners have that kind of flexibility when to learn, where to learn, and where is a place to learn. The only thing is the examination is the main content of the student is concerned. So we are having lot of courses. One we can call it as OBE, Open Basic Education. There are three categories in the Open Basic Education. One we can call it as A level, and other we can call it as a B level, and the third one we can call it as a C level actually. A grade level, it is only up to the third standard level, and the B level we can call it as a up to fifth standard level, and C category is a third, that is eighth standard level actually. Apart from that, we are having secondary and senior secondary subjects also. Secondary more or less equal to the same value what the CBSE is conducting, the same way it is a parallel non-formal education. In Ministry of Educations, we are having the two boards actually. One is named as CBSE, that is face-to-face mode of, that is open face-to-face mode actually. The National Institute of Open Schooling is through the non-formal education. We are supporting through the various tools, through Mukta Vidya Vani, and then other kind of channels also we are having, so that you can be able to go into that channel and then we can be able to learn in the process. So we are having 20 subjects in the secondary is concerned, and there are 30 subjects in the senior secondary courses content. So apart from the other board, this is the only board we are having the on-demand examination system. It is conducted throughout the Kendriya Vidyalayas. We are having, especially in the Bangalore is concerned, we are having the 4 on-demand examination system. One in Kendriya Vidyalaya Hebbal, and other is Kendriya Vidyalaya MEG Railway, and third we are having at Mangalore, and third one is Kalburgi. We are having the 4 centers in on-demand examination system. Whenever the students is ready for the examination, let them prepare and then let them go for the examination is concerned. If we're talking about the secondary subject is concerned, we are having, I can able to speak out the subject so that I can able to note down, so that become a exclamatory, you can able to see the subjects what we are having that course is concerned. In the language level, we are having Hindi, English, Urdu, Sanskrit, Bengali, Marathi, Telugu, Gujarati, Kannada, Punjabi, Assami, Indian Sign Language. So nowadays, we are not caring about, what is Indian, there is sign language actually. It is nothing but a Bharatanatyam, whatever the Bharatanatyam they are saying, they express in terms of sign language. Nepali, Malayalam, Odia, Arabic, Persian, Tamil, and Sindhi. So, and then the subject level is concerned, the secondary is concerned, we are having really about say 20 subjects, mathematics, science and technology, social science, economics, business studies, home science, psychology, Indian culture and heritage, accountancy, painting, data entry operation, Hindustani Sangeet, Carnatic music, folk art, Ved Vigyan, Sanskrit Vyakaran, Bharatiya Darshan, Sanskrit Sahitya, Natyalaya, and entrepreneurship. These are all the subjects we are having in secondary level is concerned. The students has to qualify one language from the, what you can say, the part level, what I are talking about, there are Tamil, English, Hindi, and all this thing. And the 4 subjects you have to take it from this category, what I told you, 20 has spoken out already. So they are qualified from the NIOS actually for 10th degree is concerned, 10th is concerned actually. In addition to that, the students can able to take the subjects up to 7 subjects they can able to go for it actually. So if the students feel, they are not able to cope up with the say everybody is afraid about the mathematics and science nowadays actually. There is no need of taking mathematics. If you feel is not a mathematics, then why don't you unnecessarily take the maths as a subject actually? It's a great burden for you. So let them leave it actually, because we have to change the mindset of the people actually. First of all, parents, mindset of the people means especially the parents. They are forced the children to study this subject. You have to study. You have to pursue the engineering as a career, doctor as a career. So don't decide your child futures on your hand. First of all, actually, let them do whatever they like. They would like to become maybe a Tendulkar father. They are said like that. Actually, we can't able to get the Tendulkar right now. This is a present moment is concerned. So the same thing, I can able to see the so many actors also in that field is concerned. There are more actors, what is the use of learning the mathematics and all these things? So this kind of subjects, definitely they can able to help you, and then I can able to go ahead with what I can say, pursue your career. So nowadays the history having a lot of impact on the history is concerned. Nowadays the Archaeological Survey of India, that especially the present government is focusing on it actually. First of all, history has to take as another subject, and then you can able to flourish very well actually. Archaeological study, the coming, we are studying about the Dwaraka, and we are talking about, Taliban, And we can talking about so many things, Mohenjo-daro, Harappa. These are all the cultures, only with the help of history only you can able to do it actually. So give the freedom to the students, whatever they want to pursue their career, let them decide their future. Don't force them to study any of the subjects but the parents wants to do that actually. And then if we're talking about the senior secondary is concerned, we are having the language, Hindi, English, Urdu, Sanskrit, Gujarati, Bengali, Tamil, Odia, Punjabi, Arabic, Persian, Malayalam, and Sindhi. These are all the language we are having the senior secondary is concerned. And the group B, we can call it as a group B classification. One is mathematics. Second one is the home science, psychology, geography, economics, business studies, painting, data entry operation, gender studies, early childhood care and education, Veda Agya, Sanskrit Vyakaran, Bharatiya Darshan, Sanskrit Sahitya, and Natyalaya. And physics, history, environmental science, library information and science. And D category, they can call it as a chemistry, political science, mass communication, military studies. Biology, accountancy, introduction to the law, military education, computer science, sociology, tourism, and physical yoga and education. So one of the greatest advantage what we are having in the NIOS is a transfer of credit system. Suppose the students studied in CBSE, suppose they not able to qualify the 2 subjects from the CBSE, only they qualified only 2 subjects, they can able to take the what you can call it as the transfer of credit from 2 subjects from the parent board, and the rest of the 3 subjects they can able to take from the NIOS, and they can able to complete their education. So one of the greatest advantage NIOS is having is a transfer of credit facility scheme. So once again I'm explaining you, if they're stating it the PU board, otherwise Central Board of Secondary Education, ICSE, Punjab board, at whatever the board they had taken, suppose they have passed only in the 2 subjects, let them carry forward the 2 subjects from the parent board. Rest of the 3 subjects they can be able to qualify from the NIOS. But language is mandatory. In addition to that, we can be able to go up to, once again repeating the things, up to some subjects we can be able to go for it actually. Whatever the course fee we are offering, it is less than 2,000 only for the entire course study for the throughout the year. In addition to that, we are dispatching the study material also to the students in their home address. First of all, you have to register everything through the online portal itself. After that, once they are having that reference number, immediately within a day or 2, otherwise within a 15 days fortnight, we can be able to generate the enrollment number. After the enrollment number comes to you, automatically within a month's time, we are having the mailing unit at Noida place. We are dispatching all the material to the student's address itself. Suppose you cannot able to get the material in a proper time, everything we are uploaded in the online website itself. Just to go through the NIOS website, it is, especially the curriculum part is concerned, all the materials is already uploaded in the portal itself. So that till that time, you can just enroll get the enrollment number and start studying yourself with the help of the online learning material. We can say it is self-learning material. If we go through our content in the there is on demand, there is in the textbook is concerned, it is self-explained actually, because students are not able to go to the schools and everything. We have prepared the curriculum in such a manner the students just to go through the entire the textbook is concerned, they can be able to grasp the thing and they're ready for the examination. Actually, it's a very easy thing actually. In addition to that, what we are having that accreditation institutions. Once you just to select the enrollment number and everything, there are some schools are just displaying in front of your screen is concerned. Whichever the center it is near to you, you can be able to just choose the particular center is concerned. They will conduct 30 PCP program. PCP means personal contact program. So they are teaching everything. 30 load clearing sessions only we can call it as. So you can be able to go to the particular center is concerned, and then you can take the help of the already CBSE teachers and PU teachers or already teaching here. With the help of them, you can be able to take the 3 subjects. So some of the subjects, what are the subjects I have told you? You can able to they can able to train you in a very good manner actually. 30 PCP program we are conducting. We are paying also for that actually, for the infrastructure and the teaching faculty we are paying 500 rupees for the students, for every students. So whatever the fees you are paying, it includes the PCP program costing also. And in addition to that, by practical session that is mandatory for you, that you can call it as a formative assessment actually. That is every student has to go through the formative assessment, 5 PCP sessions that is. So they will train you in the laboratory and all these things. They will put you into training very well in the physics, chemistry, biology, so that you can be able to eligible for the examination for the. So every year the examination happened in the month of April, May. In addition to that, October and November, we are having the 2 sessions of examination. The examination start from the first week of April. It goes up to May first week or second week. The result will be declared within 45 days from the last day of the examination. Suppose the last day of the examination is the 30th. That means in the month of June or July, you can able to go for the result will come in the portal actually itself. So we are going to dispatch all your mark sheet. If you want to take the, what you can say, the original marks card, you can able to go to the centers, what you have chosen. That is for the contact programs and everything. You can go to the center and collect your marks card there itself actually. So one in the month of April and May, other is in the month of October and November. In between that, students want to go for on-demand examination system. We are having the on-demand examination system also. So they can able to go to any of the Kendriya Vidyalayas, everything through the online portal itself. You can, whenever you are ready for the examination, you can have that kind of, just go through the examination process very easily. So this kind of system, even in the, what you can say, school education is concerned, NIOS only has introduced this kind of things to you actually. I'm very much sure about it. No other board is opting this kind of system to any other student. So we have that flexibility of, choosing the subject yourself, and then you can excel your studies in a very good manner. There are, I will tell you what are the examination systems, the admission system we are having. One, we can call it as Stream 1, Block 1. It starts from March 3rd and then still September it goes on Stream 1, Block 1. The students can appear in the April examination. Other one is Stream 1, Block 2. It starts from, there is October, November. It goes up to March 14th actually. So throughout the year, we are having the admission process system. In addition to that, Stream 3 and Stream 4 is there actually. Stream 3, Stream 4 means, suppose the students, what I have told you earlier also, if the students failed in some other subjects in the parent board, rest of the 3 subjects, they can be able to take it from the NIOS. The on-demand examination system will help you in the particular manner is concerned. So suppose if you are the physics and chemistry qualified from the parent board, rest of the 3 subjects you want to take it as the biology, mathematics, and English or the subject, you can be able to qualify from the NIOS itself. So these are all the flexible system NIOS we are having. If you're talking about, Northern India is concerned, because that culture we are not seen in the southern part is concerned. Some of the students, taken arts as subjects. They want to pursue the pilot as a career. So what they will do, they will take physics and chemistry from physics and mathematics from the NIOS, and they can able to go for a pilot. I can see the n number of students who are flying in the Indigo as well as Indian Airlines. Nowadays, now the privatization of airlines has already happened. So they are not worried about, which subject you are taken actually. So the pilot, pilot career, that kind of system will help you in a very great manner actually. So you are well equipped with well physics and everything. You can able to go for a pilot line also actually. These are all the major advantage the NIOS we are having. So one of the then other I am talking forgotten about the main important thing is we are offering the vocational course also. First thing I told you, open basic education. Second is secondary and senior secondary education. Third one, I am talking about the vocational education. So nowadays the present government is more focused on the vocational skill actually. So 50% of the people, if we're talking about the new education policy is concerned, 2023, they are giving the more impact on the vocational education is concerned, 2023. So vocational education is an integral part. Skill development is one of the priority agenda of the government of India. The new education policy NEP 2020 recommends that by 2025, at least 50% of the learners should have exposure to the vocational education through the school of higher secondary and senior secondary. Considering the diversity of the skill requirement across the various level and to investigate the vision of Honorable Prime Minister for Atinda Bharat, NIOS is offering nearly about, say, 100 vocational courses in the area of agriculture, animal husbandry, business, commerce, computer and information technology, engineering and technology, home science, hospitality, health and paramedical science, yoga and naturopathy, and teachers training. The courses are designed and developed with the various involvement of academician and entrepreneurs as a national occupational standard provided by the skill sector skill council SSCs. So NEP 2020 lab emphasis on making the education more holistic and effective by integration of academic and vocational education while ensuring the vertical and horizontal mobility of the student and learners between academic and vocational stream. NIOS already has an integrated model within the learners can choose the vocational subject along with the academic subject to earn the secondary and senior secondary certificate. So you can able to go for at least 2 vocational subjects also from the academic course is concerned. I think I already spoken about the vocational, what are the vocational subjects we are having in NIOS is concerned. Yes, it is typewriting Hindi in secondary level is concerned, typewriting English, typewriting Urdu, the carpentry. So nowadays, nobody is seeing carpentry and all this thing. We are looking for, if you come to the, what you can say, daily, day-to-day life, very difficult to, even in the Bangalore is concerned, we can't able to find out the carpenter is concerned. We have to just to go to the different street and find out the carpenter. So this kind of things will help you in a very good manner, actually. Solar energy technician, this is the latest technology. The coming days, nowadays, last, they are presented the budget. So whosoever the solar panel is available in the home, they can able to go for some 300 units free of, that electricity. They introduce the system. Laundry services there actually, bakery and confectionery, welding technology, typewriting Hindi, typewriting English in senior secondary level is concerned, stenography, secretarial practice, plant protection, furniture and cabinet making, housekeeping, catering management, food processing, hotel front office operation, soil and fertilizer management. These are all the vocational courses we are having. So in addition to our academic subjects, you can able to go for vocational education also into that actually. So we are having the vocational institute nearly about say 80 or 90 we are having in the Karnataka state is concerned. You can just to go through our prospectus and otherwise go through our website, enter into the login to our website. You can able to find out what are the advantages we are having in the NIOS system is concerned. Within 45 minutes, I can't able to explain everything. So within a capsule form, I can able to give you the vast presentation about the NIOS is concerned. Yes, madam, anything you would like to just add on to that actually?
So there are a couple of questions. Whenever you're ready, we can take the questions from the audience. There are a few questions that have come up.
Yes, I think I can able to finish the here itself actually. I think okay, I can sir. Able to give the entirely point out the entire information about NIOS is concerned, I feel.
Sure, sir. I think there are specific questions asking about, is this like CBSE, ICSE, the state board certification, this exam, is this equivalent to that? If you can just clarify that point.
Yeah, very good. What you are saying is correct, exactly. It is the equal weightage of what the CBSE is having, ICSE having, the same NIOS is also having that kind of things. Some of the students have gone through the NEET examination also, Medical Council of India also, because recently they are given the circular, they can able to just enroll in NIOS, they are eligible for just holding the degree of the Medical Council, that is the MBBS also actually.
So what that means, sir, is that after they've completed their secondary and senior secondary in NIOS board, they can apply to either professional higher education courses or any of the higher education courses.
Yes, correct, exactly. Yes, I can able to show the number of examples regarding that. What you can call it as they have qualified, the engineering degree examination. They got a 20th rank also. The last year is concerned. The Chennai, one of the candidate, they got the 20th rank in that is the entrance examination actually. They know he's studying, but what happened, they can't able to simultaneously studying the academic course as well as what you can call it as going for the coaching institute, so that they can able to take NIOS as a main, that the stream is the platform, so that they can able to go for what you can say the Narayana and then Fiji, they can able to participate in that actually. The work pressure is also very less we can talk about actually. Though wherever that is what I've already told, where to how to just sit and where to sit. It will be decided by the NIOS, the students only actually. Fabulous. They can able to actually, but we have to make it more popular because they are unfortunate. We are having the lot of centers only in Bangalore. outer peripheral, we have to develop our centers in a very good manner so that it reaches the entire Karnataka. Actually, this is my only concern. Actually,
Yes, I hope so too. So there is another question from Miss Anuradha. She asks, what age kids can enroll in NIOS? Is it only
very nice question. It's the decide that missed it actually. For 10th is concerned, the 14 age is the minimum criteria for the appearing for the 10th is concerned, and the 15 years is the minimum age criteria for the 12th is concerned. Actually,
okay?
15 years for 12th, 14 years for 10th.
So what about OBE?
Open basic education, that is the third level is concerned, that is at the age of 8, up to 12, they can able to go for it actually. Open basic education.
Right.
8, there is the, yeah. Tell me.
So at any age they can take up these exams. If it's
Yeah,
OBE,
yeah.
it's third to
Yes,
fifth
yes.
grade.
Yes, yes. But we don't have the stat that is status for the NOS is concerned. Better to
Okay.
just to go for what I can call it as 10th and 12th, it will become a much more impact on that actually. Let them study because through what I, so main important is, I have seen so many children, the day before yesterday and today also, there is mentally retarded children, they can't able to, there's hyperactive children. They came to me and then given the valuable guidance regarding this NYS is concerned. We are providing the Skype also to them actually, so that actually they can able to go for the examination. Sometimes the behave in the examination hall is very hyperactive, and then they can able to tear off the paper also, the mental condition of the people actually. So they
Right.
can able to go for it. Actually.
Great,
Yeah.
sir.
Anything? Any other question?
So the other question is that if a student has been homeschooled throughout and they appear for only their 10th or their 12th exams through NIOS, is that possible? Or do they have to have some certification before that?
No, nothing is needed for that actually. Directly they can able to write and speak and write. They can able to go for it actually. There is no formal qualification required for that is taking the 10th as a subject. Actually. There is no need actually.
Great.
They can
So
able
they
to directly go for it actually. Yeah, yeah.
okay. Okay. So there are multiple schools like ours which are following alternative kind of education where children are learning not through rote but through projects. So they can, if anybody or any parent chooses to, they can just appear for their 10th exams.
Directly examination, but anyway, only thing is the age criteria. In between the 10th and 12th, the 2 years gap is necessary. That everybody, the Indian school of system of education is concerned. The 2 years gap is necessary. They can able
Right.
to go for a first 4 subject in the first year, and then rest of the one subject you can able to go for a second year is concerned. But you can able to go by part also. You can say 2 subjects in the first year and then 3 subjects. You have the plenty of time. They can able to go for the coaching institute also. That what I told you,
Right.
Narayana, and then parallelly they can able to achieve their career in a very good position. But we have to change the mindset of the people. Open school is not a value. It's not like that. It is not only for the dropout. So those who want to pursue the music as a career, and then cricket as a career, I can say a number of students, those who are national level player in the cricket is concerned actually. And then we are talking about, there are so many, there is the Carnatic singer also. I think that I will ask you to just play the video of that Spurti Rao so that they can able to come to know what the passion towards she is having actually. And then one Arjun painter last time also I took into the, what you can say, annual meeting actually. That the man, what he is painted actually, really, it's amazing. So it is not only mean for, what you can call it as, it's not for the poor quality of students. It's not like that actually. It is meant for everyone actually, everyone. They want to make us a career. Film actors as artist actually. Mary Kom is our student only. Shekhar Devan is our student actually. So
Okay.
if you're talking about, everybody wants to become a Tendulkar, so that is not possible. No, every child is unique. So we can talk about cherry, peach, plum. They have a different kind of quality actually. You can't able to
Yes.
find out, I become that is a heart surgery, eye surgery. I can't able to do it actually. Everybody is unique actually. So that kind of thing, flexible system, NOS is giving to you. So make a popular, that is, still I am having that kind of, that kind of feeling. It is not reached to people properly. This is the kind of feeling I'm having actually.
That's the
Yeah,
purpose of
please
this
go ahead.
discussion, sir. We wanted you to talk about NIOS so that parents understand that this is as mainstream as any other board. In fact, personally, I have reviewed CBSE, ICSE syllabus and the NIOS syllabus, and I feel that NIOS is so much more aligned to NCERT guidelines. So the
Correct.
learning is so much deeper with NIOS. So, and if only parents recognize that, the stress of exams and burden of that
Correct.
will be away from the children.
There is main thing is whenever you come across born into the world means we are facing some sort of difficulties in the life. Definitely is there actually, but the education will give you the opportunity, though where to apply your wisdom in that actually, so that you can be able to come out from the trouble. It's not like that education you are forcing your child to study mathematics, something like that actually. But every field subjects they will give the wisdom. So suppose you can stuck into any other problem, so the education will give you the impact on that, so that you can able to come out from the situation. So that kind of feeling, yes, because NYS is not like that. It's a wonderful board actually. That kind of flexible system you will not get anywhere. But you are talking about 1991, and just a little bit add about the story is concerned. 32,000 enrollment is in the first. Suppose 1991 I joined in NYS. There are only 32,000 children only there actually. After that, step by step, the recruitment happened, and then curriculum was developed. And then so many subjects are introduced into the NYS curriculum. And then if you can able to see 5 lakhs enrollment throughout the pan-India basis, we are having the 5 lakhs enrollment actually. Especially in the Kerala is concerned, even though it's a literacy state, we are having really about 50,000 enrollment actually, even though it's a literacy state. In the Karnataka, why not we can able to promote in such a manner actually? Yes, you are the people, you are the ambassador. So you can able to promote in the NOS in a very good manner actually. But if you are putting so much of advertisement everywhere, it will not give you a much more impact on that actually. So word to mouth, how you can able to spread. I only studied in NOS. I can just this kind of curriculum I'm having. The word to mouth, that kind of propagation will happen. I think you are the one of the ambassadors. Just promote the NOS to the greater extent. I think I am expecting this from you only. I can able to share that. Any other question, please. I can able to answer your
There is
question.
one
Otherwise,
question.
yeah, please. Please.
Ms. is asking, can children who are studying through NIOS change to
Yeah.
other syllabus in between? Say, for instance, they've taken up OBE. After that, if they want to go into CBSE or ICSE, can they do that? Will that be
They can
allowed?
able to go it. Yeah, yes. They can able to go for it actually.
Okay.
But a stat status you are talking about NYS is concerned, we are not providing stat status because Karnataka government is not allowing to give the stat as it is stat
Got it.
enrollment actually, because it is a correspondence course. That is why they are refused to give that kind of stat allotment actually. But they can
Okay.
able to go for the regular studies also. I can able to see a number of examples that a girl is pursuing some BA or somebody else, something else actually, after entering into the OBE and then studied in the secondary and senior secondary from some other board. They pursue the
Okay.
career, but focus on 10th and 12th will be much more impact on that actually. I feel actually.
Got it.
We are giving the certification also. It's not like that for OBE is concerned. Any doubt, please. I am free to. Otherwise, just to put your what you can say, any other question to RD Bangalore at the rate of nios.ac.in. Actually, I can able to answer all your queries.
Definitely. So we'll put up the email ID on our chat window so that any
Yeah.
of the viewers, even post this session, have any questions, they can always put that up.
Because
So
I'm most welcome, because unless until your questions doubts will not arise, that means you are not able to understand the NOS in a proper manner actually. The n number
right.
of questions will arise. I am also learning, and but you are just forced me to learn actually. I am just if I am working in the NOS means I'm not well thorough about all my curriculum and all the activities. You are putting the more question on that, so that more impact will be there. And the other thing I would like to introduce this the examination pattern is going to change very recently. They are going to introduce the objective type of question paper also actually, 20 marks actually. We are having the tutor marked assessment also. That is one of the integral component. In addition to that, this time also onwards, we are going to give the true or false objective type of questions. We are going to introduce the 20 marks will carry in a very good figure to the that is coming, going for some other professional course and all this thing. It will give you much more impact on that actually. Vishwashira University also, they are very well known about NYS is concerned. They are giving the admission in Vishwashira University also actually.
So the higher education universities across India accept students who have passed
Accepted,
out.
yes, of course, correct. But Tamil Nadu's government is little bit, they are asking some sort of question. It will be sorted out very soon. Medical
Got it.
Council of India also, they put the court case against NOS that students are not eligible. I only appear in the court and then I argued with the judge and all this thing. It is
Okay.
favor comes to in favor of NOS only actually. Now the students can able to enroll that. I was working in Triple S department, what that boy has told about. I was in the Triple S department, that is student support service. I only this appear in the court actually. I spoken in front of the judge nearly 25 minutes. There is the judgment comes in favor of NOS only actually. So
Fantastic,
the
sir.
Medical Council of India is
Congratulations.
concerned. Yeah, it is nothing to worry about. NYS is more any problem you can just access. I am accessible to everyone. It's not like that. There is no protocol maintained at the office is concerned. You can come to my office and interact with me. If you have any number of questions, you can raise the question so that I am also disposed to learn from you people actually.
Thank you, sir. So there's one more question that has come up. For sportsperson enrolled at NIOS, is there any
Yes.
additional certification required if applying abroad, as in a scholarship based on their performance as national player? Will they require any additional certification for applying for colleges outside of India?
But NOS is not going to provide because we are facing through the non-formal education, what I told you already. But face to face, we are not interacting with the students actually. The schools,
Okay.
what we are allotted, they are teaching it actually. But that NOS has nothing to do with that particular point is concerned. They can able to
Okay.
go for because I see in DPS Bangalore South is concerned, there are n number of cricket players or there's national level players actually. They are all
Right.
they are into the NOS. And then, yes, of course, it is particularly mean for the sports people actually, not able to give the examination in a particular time. We are having the system of on-demand examination system. When they skipped on the particular there is examination, they can able to go for on-demand examination system also actually. Within a month, say June, April, the students will drop the subject. Immediately they can able to go for on-demand examination in the month of June, July actually.
Great.
But
Okay.
the fees also what we are taking is very, very less. 2,500, no profit, no loss organization it is actually. But I am
Right.
not selling my product actually because I'm at behalf of society only I'm talking actually. I'm concerned about the
Definitely,
society.
sir.
I
Definitely,
don't
sir.
have,
That's the
I don't
purpose
want
of
to
this
sell my,
discussion.
yes, anything
Great.
else? Please go ahead with the question. Any other question? I'm very happy to answer all your queries.
So we don't have any other questions from the audience. I think that's it for today.
Yeah.
If you have any other things to share, or we can end the session here, sir, because we are
RD
almost.
Bangalore. Yes, I think almost whatever the time slot is given to me, I think it is almost over actually, 7:40.
Yes,
But
sir.
I think anything you'd like to ask questions, I am most welcome, and then I'm ready to answer your queries. Happy to answer your queries, so that I
Thank you.
am also what I told you. Uh, but you can able to play that video of the singer Ekanifu. That is a wonderful thing actually. I think I feel better.
1 second, sir. I'll just try and pull that video up. हरी सदा सदा मैं शरण तिहारी तुम ही गरीब निवाज रघुवर तुमको मेरी लाज Namaste. My name is Purti Rao. I'm a classical musician and performer and a class 12 science student of National Institute of Open Schooling, NIOS, for over 1 year now. I'm genuinely grateful to NIOS for the flexibility it has offered me in terms of never having to miss out on an important opportunity, to be able to learn more, to spend more time on practice, and easily balance my career and passion for music along with my love for studies. I'm happy to share that I recently completed my US concert tour consisting of over 15 concerts in 15 different states in America, and this wouldn't have been possible again if not for NIOS giving me the chance to write my board exams in October and the facility of on-demand exams. I've also been able to perform over 90 concerts in 2022 and 2023 alone. So I'm genuinely grateful for all it has done for me to be able to be the musician I am today. Thank you so much.
This kind of flexibility we are having in the NOS is concerned actually. They can able to go for anything actually. They want to pursue passion. First of all, passion is there, no, automatically. I told you, no, don't, there is parents to be matlab, more, we have to educate them actually, first of all, actually. Instead of educating the children, we have to educate the parents, first of all, actually. We should have that, more counseling for the parents, I feel, we have to nurture and nourishing the parent actually. So always,
Yes.
I would like to have a small story actually before there is finishing the session. There is a lot of starfishes, when old man is walking towards the sea, this corner, there are a lot of starfishes, coming out of the sea actually is concerned. So the old man, what he did is, just putting one by one fish into the, what I can say, water once again. So one a small boy asked, sir, we are just, is it possible to just put all the starfish into the, what I can say, water? Uh, say one by, you can able to save the one life, no, that will become more impact on that actually. That a young man also started, putting the starfish one by one into the sea actually. Other people join, and then three or four people join. So all the starfishes are totally, deposited into the, what I can call it as the sea is concerned. So we are the one that the teachers are the one that we have to educate, one by one, so that the world we can able to see the enlightenment world we can able to see that actually. The education is a much more important integral part of the life. Any subject, anything you can able to choose, not a physics, chemistry, biology, or history, something like that. So each and every, take it as a passion, and then pursue your career, and then walk towards success. What do you want to become? We are talking about the Tagore word world. The world is free actually. So that kind of things should be in our heart actually. So definitely we can able to see the enlightenment world in the coming days. We are focusing towards 2030, so that the whole if the district is enlightened, the district is educated, we can able to educate the entire India. So entire world become integral part of each and everything actually. So we are the one, we are the promoters for each and everything actually. It has to start from the single individual only, I feel. Thank you very much for
Thank
giving
you.
the very good
That was a
opportunity
lovely
to just
story.
address about the NIOS. Thank you very much for giving the opportunity to address about the NIOS is concerned. I think so many people are listening. They come to know a little bit about what is the NIOS is concerned. I am accessible to everyone. Our office is situated in Malaysia. I am just otherwise, just to connect me in the mail is concerned. I am always there actually to help you. I am with you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure having you with us, and we will be
Yeah.
in touch with you going forward as
Yeah.
well. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Viewers, thank you so much for joining us and having been with us throughout this session. There are a few more questions that I will take. One is about Tapas following NIOS. We offer that as one of the choices. We are aligned to IGCSE. We will be offering IGCSE, that is the Cambridge exams at 10th as well as at 12th. We will offer NIOS as an option to students who want to take up other subjects than what is offered at Cambridge. So we are certainly looking forward to offering both. There is another question from Ms. Anuradha. She's asking about the exam that I mentioned for which younger kids can take up. It's called OBE. Please look up on the NIOS website. This information, as Swaminathan sir mentioned, is available on the website. It's OBE. We'll put up sir's email ID on the comment section after the session is completed. People who are watching it post the session also will have access to write to sir about any questions that you might have. There is a question on what is project-based learning. Can you explain that a little bit more? Certainly we will do that, but today is not the time for it. We are out of time for today's session. I would just quickly like to tell you about tomorrow's session. We will start at 5:30 p.m. We have two fantastic speakers, both who are outside of India. Rachel Tomlinson, who will be talking about the cultural capital curriculum, where she talks about a curriculum that celebrates diversity using project-based learning. And then we have Raya Bidashiri, who is the founder of a school called School of Humanity, where she's talking about beyond silos, the power of interdisciplinary learning. So please do join us for tomorrow's sessions as well, like you have been with us today. We will delve a lot more into project-based learning over the next 4 days and make sure that at the end of these 4 days of the conference, you have a better understanding of what project-based learning is, what self-directed learning means, and what experiential learning is all about. So thank you so much for having joined us. Signing off. Good evening. Have a great, great day ahead. Bye-bye.